First question. Challenge, come on. Come on. Way down by chips. Peter, thank you.
If I could paraphrase Claire's line, if there is excellence, they will find out. They will find out. Someone earlier today mentioned friends, family and Facebook. So where's that taking
Well, I'll just give an example. I mean, I started a new product a year and a half ago called Seafood Seduction, and I made a conscious effort not to do traditional marketing on that, and it is a world's first of what we do, and it's small numbers, high price, and it's just unbelievable how media, how Tourism Australia, Tourism Tasmania, the RTOs, they've grabbed it, they've sent it global, and the amount that I've spent to actually advertise it is very, very small.
I do think there's a difference in this area between some of our ecotourism products that are quite small scale, and the concept of running a 400-room hotel. So there is a scale issue sitting in there, but I think the thing that I'm querying and throwing out is we've seen that change already. And in the tourism world, we have heavily focused on marketing. And I know all of us who run businesses do spend a lot of time on product development, but I wonder if that proportion will substantially alter increasing.
For me personally, I think it's really interesting. I was talking to an operator recently who said he doesn't spend any money at all on direct marketing. His marketing is purely online. He has the discipline at the end of every day. He goes on, he loads photos of what the people are doing on his tour that day, because his view is that the market out there is wanting to see not these hero shots and wondering when did that happen, was that staged or whatever. They want to see real people doing real things, and so that's what he's doing day in and day out. And what he's really saying is instead of spending my money on direct marketing, I'll spend my money on improving the experience, and the visitors on my tour will be my marketers. They will go away because I'm delivering a fantastic experience. They will go away and we'll, TripAdvisor and all those mechanisms there that you get out there. So, this is not saying there isn't a role in the future for marketing, but what it is saying is there is that shift from push marketing, the traditional, to pull marketing now. The consumer is in charge and in control.
Hello, John Tedesco with the Rottnest Island Authority. I just wanted to raise the topic of collaboration. I think it's such an important topic, often discussed in a lot of industries, but I think very relevant to the tourism industry. And that's where operators within a particular destination collaborate, coordinate, talk to each other. It's just so important because people go to a destination, they don't go to just a product or just an accommodation. So I'd like to just sort of throw that out and get the views of the panel on not only the issue of collaboration, but how do we actually do it? What are some of the mechanisms that can make it happen? Because sometimes operators feel, well, it's human nature to think we're in competition, but really we need to collaborate because, as I said, people go to a destination.
Any other panel?
Passing? Oh, passing, geez. Okay, I won't pass it, and then Carol add something. Indigenous tourism in Canada is all about collaboration. Over the last 17 years, we've really been looking at how do we develop it, and we've been measuring our key performance indicators, the typical how many jobs, how many businesses, how long have they been operating, are they making a profit, are they sustaining, do they plan to develop in the future? But what we found that is extremely essential, especially for Indigenous tourism, is those partnerships that we develop, not only with government agencies involved in destination marketing, but the travel trade especially, and locals, because as we said, people buy a destination, they don't buy one single experience. There's a program in Vancouver called Taxis Drive Tourism. I don't know how successful it's been because since they built the Canada line from Vancouver Airport to downtown, everyone bypasses the taxis. So, and then you've mentioned Uber, but I think that's really one of the things that's really underscored in this discussion is not so much is ecotourism a disruptor, but what are the things that may disrupt ecotourism or may enhance it. And technology has come up a few times. Something I looked at, of course I went online, did a lot of research before I traveled to Australia, and something I think that's critically important is that you use technology. There are communities I probably would have went to if it was easy for me to find information about them, if it was current, if the photos were quality and honest, if the comments were good, but also if it was easy for me to make a reservation. And when I went to Carcourt, does anyone else know where Carcourt is other than me? You. What a wonderful place, but you can't eat there at night. No, it's not, but if it wasn't for the organizer of the event I went to, I would never probably have stayed there because he helped connect me with people who stay there because they didn't have online registration. So technology is extremely important whether you're a micro business in a remote or isolated rural community or an indigenous community where there isn't infrastructure there like telephone lines or electricity. When we did work in Guyana with the indigenous people, we did all of our meetings by Skype. This is communities who turn off their power at night to save the energy on the generators, but they had internet access. Whereas an organization I was on in Toronto, they couldn't do a Skype conference call. Strange. But technology is extremely important. The partnerships that you develop, looking at developing an area and doing the regional planning, and in Indigenous tourism, one of the things we did in developing the organization was to structure our board so that 6 of our board members would represent a region in British Columbia, which matches the tourism region of British Columbia. So we can look on developing partnerships that way. So extremely important because, like you said, people buy a destination and the experiences in that area. We have to look at all things. Like taxis drive tourism. My gosh, if anyone else had that experience I had with the taxi driver in Perth, you'd be looking for public transit. Because he wasn't a good ambassador, but he was a critical ambassador for the whole experience. Because the first person someone encounters, once they leave the airport, is either your train operator, your bus driver, or your taxi cab driver. We need to build those links with them as well.
Great comments, and I think I'll just add something really short to say, I'm probably speaking to the converted because I think many of our operators do collaborate, and those that do collaborate generally do much better. And I think the challenge we have when we talk about, growing the pie and not being competitors is to also do that at an organisational level. Within tourism, we are highly fragmented and tend to be, there's a lot of duplication, a lot of association. So I think that's one of our challenges ahead. But if we tackle that and be professional and transparent, we will grow. And it's also about how we particularly partner and grow with people outside the tourism industry. And I think we still tend to be very insular in our thinking.
Yeah, just a quick comment on that in regards to your particular question. I think as consumers move away from the traditional distribution channels, like wholesalers, travel agents, and I think that will continue, and I'm thinking particularly the European market, where I do a lot of work, they're still producing magazines that probably more a reflection of the 1980s. Their phone books with pictures in them of hotels and rates. And as consumers move away from that model to more online, I think they're looking for itineraries and experiences. And the few wholesalers in Europe that are putting together itineraries and experiences, to me, they're the ones I'm getting the booking from. They have been very successful. So I think on a national scale, what we're doing locally and what we're doing in our RTO, and what I'm hammering on them about, is the need to create experiences around itineraries. If people are going online, make it easy for them.
And just really quickly on that too, basically access, accommodation, food, attractions, and if the person on the last day, your guest, leaving Tasmania goes to a bad dunny, it's destroyed their whole experience at the time that they were. So to collaborate with everyone is absolutely essential. Yeah.
And I think that the message from an ecotourism point of view is because ecotourism has been that driver of experience without whatever. I think, Claire made the point before, I think we need to see more of in destinations instead of the destination image and brand being created by, with all due respect, creative agencies, whatever. The real brand is being created by the operators who work together, because as I say, one product does not make a destination. It's various products working together to deliver the unique experience of a particular destination that becomes really the brand qualities of that destination.
I would like to just challenge everyone here whether the work that you've done over the last 20 years.
Could you please just grab the mic because people behind
I'd
you.
like to challenge
Yep. Yeah, it's on. It's on.
that the work that you've done over the last 20 years has actually become mainstream today. You should be celebrating what you've done. Because when you started with tourism and ecotourism, no Woolworths, no Coles, no, not even the motor industry, no banks, no magazines, no one was doing eco. You started the eco. Today we have friendly paper, everything that is done done around eco. So I don't think you're disruptive. You're on the right line. We should just take it a step forward. We should be celebrating what you've actually done.
And that's certainly the intention. But equally, in this industry, you can't rest on the laurels. And if we think what we're doing now is going to sustain us through for another period of time, we've got to keep driving change, because that will be our competitive advantage. I think that's the point. It's certainly not denigrating anything that's been done, because that has driven. But can we still do it, I think, is the question.